All right. Welcome to the Hall of Fame Fatherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Mistovich. Today, I'm joined by Cala. Cala is a coach, a man that is working to build strong and confident families. Cala, thank you for joining. I appreciate you taking the time and look forward to the conversation.
I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So first off, we'll just dive into the backstory. Who are you? Where are you from? What got you here to today?
Sure. I'm Cala. I'm 38 years old, father of two boys. And, I guess giving a little bit of history, I would say my, journey began probably about over a decade ago. I come from the music industry in Canada, surrounded by sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which sounds fun and good on paper.
Mhm.
But it's really what kind of sparked, the change that I saw that I needed to take. Um, I'm also 5 years booze free, and that all stemmed, making that decision stemmed from being in the music industry, where, um, you could definitely thrive in that industry,
Mhm.
but it's not one to encourage physical health. There's a lot of mental health that comes with the poor nutrition and the poor physical health on there. You're working late nights, staying up late.
Mhm.
Um, and so I kind of wanted to make a change because I saw that it was doing more harm than good after being in it for so long, especially the booze. I would be, um, if I was going to have a drink, it was to get smashed, it was
Gotcha.
to get plastered. I'm like an all or nothing kind of guy.
Mhm.
And so when that would happen, someone had to take care of me, whether it be my friends, whether it be my colleagues, whether it be my family.
Gotcha.
And after a while, people were getting tired of taking care of me.
Mhm.
Starting with my friends, next my colleagues, and then my family, my wife. And so I saw that I was hurting people or being an inconvenience to others, and that's not how I wanted to be portrayed. So I had to make a change. So that's where I would say this all kind of began, was deciding to get booze free. And when that started happening, I saw some changes. I was sleeping better, so I was making better decisions because of it.
Mhm.
Uh, I then started encouraging me to start being mindful of diet, and my physique started getting very good, which encouraged me to start training and exercising, and just kind of this snowball effect of progress, of improving and growth, um, which kind of led, fast forward. This is what the greater forever system is all about. Greater forever, always moving the goalpost, being aware that we can always improve. So that's where my story starts. And being a coach for just a short time, I recognized very quickly that a lot of poor eating behaviors or unhealthy habits, they all stem from having poor emotional or stress responses.
Okay.
And after digging a little deeper and becoming a father myself, it was clear that these poor responses to stress all stem from never being taught how to deal with emotions in childhood. And I would say the majority of people, because of their upbringing, traditional parenting methods, that was something that was neglected. Um, and so I'm now bringing family and health to the forefront of my coaching program. We have a team of coaches in the Greater Forever system, where we try to ensure that if you sign up with us, that you're going to build a strong, confident family. So that's what it's all about. That's pretty much sums it up as best I can.
No, that's beautiful. Um, just wanted to go back to quitting the booze. Like, how how did you handle, that's not, especially in North American culture, it's a pretty popular thing. How did you handle the dissenting voices?
Yeah. So obviously it was pretty tough at first, like any big change that you want to commit to. It's going to be struggle. There's going to be
Right.
temptation, and all that. And especially yes, in that industry, constantly tempted with booze. Being a musician, sometimes you're paid in booze.
Okay.
They'd be like, "Oh, we can't pay you, but we'll give you free booze or beer tickets." And when I wanted to stop quitting booze, um, it started with my colleagues kind of no longer inviting me to the special events or the after hours parties or the behind closed doors meetings,
Mhm.
um, because that's where they would share a drink, and chill at the bar and make those kind of decisions there. So I saw that I was losing you know close relationships within the industry, and I didn't let that get to me because I also saw that because I was not getting in these after hours events or meetings, like I said, I was getting better sleep. So I'd go home and just commit to my decision of quitting booze rather than give in to the temptation. Um, and then I would see it with friends that they would also know my choice of quitting booze,
Mhm.
but yet still say, "Oh, come on, live a little."
Yeah.
If we go to a party, they bring out the beer first thing to greet me, and so I saw that are my friends really encouraging me to be better, or are they trying to bring me back into like a self-sabotaging habit? So I recognize that just by quitting booze, what's going to help is also to rid the toxic relationships that come with it. Because then I was, because of that, in substitution, I was meeting more people, focusing on growth, focusing on health, focusing on self improvement.
Mhm.
And so, I just kind of just rode the wave of progress. But that being said, when I was tempted, I'd made sure that I had a substitution. So my go-to was coffee. I'd make sure that the event I was going to was selling coffee, and if it didn't, I brought my own
Okay.
huge ass cup. And probably not the best choice given that most of the nights or most of the events were at night, but it was a better option than booze, so I went with it. Um, and That really helped. That really helped. Some people use non-alcoholic beverages or carbonated drinks, but my choice was coffee, and I think having a substitution really helped. So those two things I would say was something to be aware of and mindful of.
Mhm.
And what really changed and made it easy was probably after a year. So during the first year, I was again constantly tempted. People offering me drinks, and I would say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit. No thanks, I'm trying to quit booze."
Yeah.
Until one day, someone offered me a drink, and I refused by saying, "No thanks, I don't drink." And it was right then where I kind of recognized I was no longer identifying myself as someone trying to quit. I identified automatically as someone who doesn't drink. And I kind of apply that logic with everything. I'm not someone that's trying to improve their health. I'm someone that prioritizes health. I'm not someone that's trying to get a workout in. I'm committed to being stronger than ever before. So it's these kind of self talks that we have in our brain, and being aware of how we think makes things a lot easier.
I like that. Just making that distinction makes all the difference.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned the greater forever system, and obviously I would venture to say it's your mission statement, to build strong and confident families. What it like, can you break down the greater forever system a little bit more, and like, what does a strong and confident family look like?
Sure. So, when I decided to include family into the forefront of my health and wellness coaching, I wanted to really bring in the emotional health aspect of it. And to me, if you have healthy, emotional fortitude within yourself, you're going to lead that with your family. And so, emotional health, I would say, is probably something that's not really spoken about enough. And I think it is because, like I said earlier, that we've been conditioned um, since childhood to suppress our emotions, whether it be hearing a baby or an infant or toddler crying and the parent saying stop crying, or whether it be the common phrase I'll give you something to cry about, whether it be not understanding proper child brain development and punishing kids when really we should be, as parents, resolving problems and solving problems with them. Um, Basically, I'd like to give a new meaning of what discipline means in the home. A lot of people associate discipline with punishment, grounding, spanking, taking possessions away. So I want to instill that discipline means to teach, and that you can grow with your kids, you can grow with your partner or spouse, and share wins, share struggles together, and really bring your health and wellness goals together as a family unit. So that's the goal of building strong, confident families, is growing with your family.
I like it. I like it. What, um, so it sounds like connection is a big piece. What's connection, and like, what does that look like?
Yeah, like connection. The Something I always say, my wife and I always say, is basically connection before correction. So if we see that our child's misbehaving, we don't run to try to correct it. We'll get down to their level, ask them what's wrong, get their side of the story, and try to see, put ourselves in their shoes. And that's basically how we define connection.
Okay.
If it's, and something else that just comes to mind is a lot of people, I think, struggle with having the family dinner, whether it be having your kids not sit properly. They always want to leave the table. They don't eat the food that you're serving. If you focus on connection, really you could just be enjoying the company of having the family dinner. So like, instead of telling them to sit right, use their utensils properly, clean up their face, you wouldn't do that with, if your friends came over for dinner. Why are you doing that with your kids? Share how your day was, ask how their day was. Build that connection first. So that's when you say connection, that's the first things that come to mind is focusing on the relationship for the long-term plan versus the short-term fixes of in suppressing our kids' emotion, telling them to stop, focusing on their behaviors rather than the relationship.
Gotcha. So like, in the example of family dinner, the kid's having a tantrum, doesn't want to eat,
Yeah.
and you get down to their level and make the connections, like you said. But we also want them to know, like, that they should keep a clean face and things like that, right? So like, when does the correction part, or what does the correction piece of that look like?
So yeah, something that I do is basically just when I serve my kids food, my son is 4, and our other son is 3 months, so he's
Okay.
he's got some time.
Yeah.
But our 4-year-old, I'll give him the utensils to use. I'll give him a napkin. I'll also give him a damp cloth, and say that when your hands are dirty or your face is dirty, this is what you use. And of course, 9 times out of 10, he'll use his sleeve,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And when he does, instead of just saying, "Hey, just use your napkin," um, just be like, "Oh, did 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 you see your napkin there?" And he'll look at it, and he'll look at me, and he'll be like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, do you need to clean your face?" And he goes, "Well, I did already." Okay, so next time let's use the napkin, right? And you just got to kind of be consistent with it. It's not going to be like a switch,
Right.
but over time, now he knows that when he sees the napkin in front of him, he's going to use it. He's use it every time. No, but I'm also got to lower my expectations that he's going to pick up and learn and be disciplined, um, like an adult would.
Mhm.
So a big thing about for me when it comes to childhood is let them be kids.
Mhm.
Same thing when brushing their teeth. He's just now starting to brush his teeth on his own, and he makes a huge mess. But to me, the goal isn't for him to know how to brush his teeth like an adult. The goal is for him just to learn how to brush his teeth himself. Just like the using the napkin. The goal isn't for him to learn it in one day or overnight. It's going to take time, but as long as we're consistent and not rushing to correction and connecting first,
Mhm.
they're going to over time kind of trust your advice, trust your guidance, rather than just acting in a way to please us.
You mentioned consistent, like when you said consistency, like that sticks out. And obviously it starts with you and your wife, it starts with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay consistent in your, whether it's mindfulness or whatever your individual practices to stay centered? Like how do you stay consistent with that?
So I let my I feel like my kids have kind of saved my life in this way, where I'm always reminding myself that my choices are my kids' choices. So say, um, such a bad example, but whatever, I'll use it. Like say I dropped some food on the floor, right? Five
Mhm.
second rule, brush it off. I can't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore because then my kid's gonna think 5 second rule applies, and that could mean it applies in the garden, it could apply at the playground, it could apply in the schoolyard. So I have to be more aware that food on the floor, it's garbage, and that I got to commit to that. So that's part of the consistency. This, like, again, that was such a bad example, but that's the first thing that came to mind. But
We get the point. We
yeah,
get the,
right. So whatever it is, I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm gonna give into excuses. I don't want my kid to to see that dad's making excuses, so it's okay for me to make an excuse.
mm,
And so I got to be consistent with my commitments first in order to really teach my kid about consistency and responsibility. So yeah, you're right. It absolutely does start with us, the parents, um, and that's the only way that we are going to appropriately teach our kids, by leading by example and being aware that my choices, my decisions, my actions and habits, that's theirs. So they're watching. This is the way that they learn best.
mm,
So that's something, a constant reminder.
got it. So like when you came across this new approach and you began to implement it, uh, was it, I'm assuming that it was you who decided to bring it to the family. How did that go, like with your wife, like getting on the same page and managing that?
So it actually wasn't me. My
Okay.
wife introduced gentle parenting to me prior to our firstborn, and I really I liked the idea of it a lot because of my upbringing. My dad um, still has a crazy temper, very low patience. He can go from 0 to 100 like that, and it did a lot um, for me in my childhood. Like again, I think it, without him knowing, made me become a people pleaser.
Mm.
So when my wife introduced the idea of gentle parenting, going down to their level, really focusing on the emotional side and having our kids understand and being able to process emotions and express them appropriately, um, with that understanding, that to me was like, yeah, I'm all in. Let's do it. She introduced me to the book, No Drama Discipline,
Okay.
by Steven Siegel, and then, or sorry, Daniel Siegel, and then what was the other book? The Whole Brain Child, which was a game changer for me, where it really spoke about child development and brain development and how kids, at a certain age, of course, cannot process logic and reason like adults.
Mhm.
And it's so funny, because now knowing this and reading a lot of parenting books, but those two I would say are great ones to start with. um, you can very much see that kids just, they process and think completely different, and a lot of parents would associate their behaviors or the way that they think is being manipulative or testing, and trying to get in trouble. But kids aren't doing that. They're not that smart. They're basically just trying to figure it out, just like you did, and just like you are as a parent. You've never been a parent to your kid at this age before. They've never been this age before. They don't know what their responsibilities are as a child, and it's your responsibility as a parent to show them the best way for them to learn, not the best way for you to run your day. So it was that little shift that kind of changed everything for me. Um, but at the same time, when we first practiced these peaceful or better ways of more connection based parenting, it's not easy. I'm falling back to my instincts. I'm falling back to, seeing my father's instincts of correcting first. And what really, like, I guess, got me to commit to peaceful parenting was probably when my kid was 1.5. He did something. He like threw food on the floor, or whatever it was. I don't even remember, but I remember just like staring at him like my dad would, giving me that stare
Okay.
and just knowing that dad doesn't approve. And I saw the fear in my 1.5-year-old son's eyes, the same fear that I looked at my dad with.
Mm.
And that was when I was like, this is not appropriate. This is not right. I'm not doing this. Um, and so I think that kind of, for some people, that needs to happen, whether it be that they spank them and they see their kids flinch, or whether it be they punish them and, you know, they hear the kids crying in the room, whatever it is. Um, I don't want that to be part of my kid's journey. It was part of mine. So that's what made it, I guess, easy to know that this is what I want. This is what I want my kid to have as a father.
Gotcha. The What would you say is the biggest benefit that you've seen in your kids so far?
The biggest thing is he asks us everything before doing something. And like, he doesn't ask us, for our permission. More like, um he's asking us like because he trusts that we're going to give him a safe and logical answer that's not serving our needs first. So, whether it be um, crossing the street. I mean, we set up our tent. We're going camping next week. We set up our tent
Okay.
outside, and he just came back from the park, so he had sand all over his shoes or whatever. And he saw the tent, got excited, and before jumping in, he's like, can I go in with my shoes on or should I take my shoes off? And my wife and I both looked at each other like, wow, that was amazing. Yes, take your shoes off, go in. Like, it's like, so, these little things, um, again, I really do believe that he's asking us because he trusts us and respects us rather than he's asking us for our permission. So that kind of thing has been the biggest benefit, is that um, you just see the relationship, the trust in the relationship, and not the fear that I grew up with.
Gotcha. Like my wife and I have a 6-year-old son, and have done our best to. I haven't made the distinction of claiming myself as a peaceful parent. I'll put it that way. I have implemented, the connection approach, I'll just call it. And it is very interesting and rewarding to see like how he comes to the conclusions, the questions that he asks. Sometimes I'm like, you shouldn't be at, like, you're 6, like, how do you know to ask that question, so I guess I bring that up to, and calling myself out as far as not being, where you're at on the journey, as far as some, like, what maybe some people would rebuttals, I guess, is like, you know, like with the connection, let me just ask this. Connection is very important. Like, when is it okay to be disconnected? If that makes sense.
I need an example. What you mean?
Um, so if you are always being like getting down to their level, you're having a shitty day, and how do you approach the shitty day where you can't connect?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You don't want to get down to their level, you don't want to acknowledge and validate their
Hey,
feelings.
I hear you. Yeah, and I want you to know, like, I by far do not consider myself this perfect parent. I'm flawless in the peaceful
No.
approach. Um, it's a struggle sometimes. Where it's natural to feel frustrated and angry, and um, sometimes if you want to lash out and yell. Um, one thing that is been a huge blessing for me to recognize is that I can always apologize to my kids. And by doing that, I'm teaching them a lesson that it's okay to make mistakes, as long as, we have a lesson from it. We're taking the lesson, we feel remorse, and we're giving them an opportunity to offer forgiveness. So that's been number one. If I make a mistake, if I do lash out, I can always apologize to my kids, and it's a win-win because I want them to feel confident and safe that they can make a mistake and apologize to me. Another thing is, when I am feeling frustrated, when I am angry, when I am these negative emotions, I tell them, Daddy's getting upset. Daddy's losing patience. Can you help? And now when I see he's upset, he'll say, I'm getting mad. I need a hug. And so because when I'm upset, I ask him for a hug or help in some way. He knows when he's upset, he can ask us. And so that's again still part of the connection, or maybe it's a reconnection from first being disconnected. So I would say yes, of course it's okay, but it's not a go-to. But we are all human. We make mistakes, and I think showing that our kid that mistakes are going to happen. As long as we continue sharing our goals, I tell him that I want to be a better dad for him. Then then it's all good, right? That's how we grow as a family.
Got it. Well, yeah, thanks for, you know, offering some clarification on that. That's, um, so like another thing that comes to mind is, okay, how does this spread out into wider society? And, how does it work in the real world? Because I can hear people, hearing this for the first time, like, what the hell is peaceful parenting? And, you know, people aren't going to be peaceful out in the world. Like, how does this reverberate out?
Yeah. So, we're living in a cold, dark place right now, I think. There's a lot of division out there economically. People are struggling, inflation's through the roof. Um, and so, the last place that I would want um, to kind of replicate that stuff is my home. And so I want my home to be a place of love, a place of peace, warmth, so that when my kids are in trouble or feeling discouraged, that they know they can always come to um, a home that's supportive of whatever's going on.
Mm.
Um, I'm also, I plan on discussing issues with my kids. I'm focusing on resolving problems together. I want my kids to see their dad and know that they can come to me to solve problems, and I'm going to help them through the way. I don't want my kids thinking that when they're in trouble or they're feeling, getting attacked or whatever, that I better not let dad know I don't want to get in trouble. That's how I grew up. Um, I always go back to when I got my first accident. I was on the highway. We hit black ice. The car was right off, and I called my friends instead. And luckily, I have good friends. But if that ever happened to my kid, like I would want him to first think I got to call dad. And so that applies to when they're going to be influenced by their peers. If they're drunk at a party or whatever it is, I don't want them feeling discouraged to call me for help. I don't want them relying on their drunk friends or whatever it is. So that's where I would start, is that when there are problems, when they are faced with these things, I want them to feel confident that they can call their parents for help. Number one. Number two, I want them to know that when there are problems, that you don't brush them away, that you try to solve them. And so that's the whole point of the connection thing.
Okay.
And during these connecting times, we are teaching how to do things. And again, when I'm in trouble or when I'm in tough spots, I share these struggles with my kids, and obviously at a level where they understand. I'm not going to talk about politics to a 4-year-old, but whatever it is, as they grow and as I grow, we're growing together. So that's where I would say, it's still, it makes sense. And not to, I don't need to implement any kind of suppression or distraction, like things outside of my home, just because that's what's going on in the real world. If we have kids that feel confident of making their own choices based on what they want and not pleasing others, like imagine a world where people have that confidence, where kids grow up feeling proud of who they are. That's the goal for me.
I like it. I so typically the last question I asked this of every guest, and the name of the podcast is Hall of Fame Fatherhood. And, you know, I didn't name this because I'm like the decision maker on what a Hall of Fame father is. Hopefully, through these episodes, we can tease out the tenets of what makes a Hall of Fame father, and being a peaceful parent, and the approaches that you describe, um, in my mind, can be one in those tenets to reach the Hall of Fame of your kid's heart, so to speak. So in your mind, like if you can come up with a definition, like what would a Hall of Fame father look like to you? Or how would you describe a Hall of Fame father?
A Hall of Fame father needs to be a Hall of Fame man. So being a good man, and that means putting yourself first and focusing on you. Too many people focus on trying to fix their wife, their colleagues, their friends, their kids, when really the answer always lies in starting with you, and your habits and what you're consistent with. Um, Someone that is guided by their commitments and principles and not guided by their emotions and reactions. Um, that to me would, if you can focus on that and focus on yourself and being revealing your best self to your family, you're going to reveal being the best father.
No, I like that. And I felt like the energy, like you really like stood up and was like, no, this is it. And I like that. So
Thanks,
uh
brother.
yeah. And
What do you think?
what do I think? To me, much like you said, uh being the best man you can be, I agree with you 100%. It starts there. Uh Living by your principles, and to me it kind of falls in some order. Like you need spiritual connection, however, whatever that looks like for you. um Physical health, you got to work on yourself physically. Emotional and mental health, that you need to get in line, and like working on those areas of your life to be the best you can be in those areas. That's the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So if you're working those areas to the best of your ability and looking to continue to grow, then to me that's what a Hall of Fame father is.
Yes, sir. And I think is an excellent point. And I think kind of recognizing that the work never ends and
Mhm.
being kind of embracing that, knowing that like we're basically capable of always improving as long as we put in the work, as long as we stay committed, stay consistent, the results will come.
Mhm.
Um, there's going to be times where it's discouraging. I know I've felt times where I just wanted to give it all up, run away,
Oh yeah.
and because again, emotions are strong. But knowing and recognizing those emotions and using them as signals has been really helpful for me. So when I do catch myself with these times, that's the time where I need to reevaluate, maybe redefine what my principles are as a man, and
Mhm.
stay committed. Focus on me. Focus on what I can do to be better. And it doesn't need to be a big change that happens overnight. They
Right.
could be small wins. And something I tell all my clients is celebrate those small wins so that you do keep that motivation up, keep that progress going, and telling yourself that you are capable. Because
Mhm.
it all starts up here.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely not an easy journey, but at least from my perspective, it's been the most rewarding journey of my life.
100%.
Um,
Yes, sir.
I've been a father for 22 years, and it would, I did not do a very good job, in my opinion, in the beginning. And, that I've done a lot of work, a lot of introspection, and can say that I have improved.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, it's I can't think of a better role to play in this life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Best job in the world.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, Cala, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Where can they find you?
Sure. Yeah. Very easy. Just go to greaterforever.net. You can find me on Twitter at greaterforever. You can join the Facebook group. Just search Greater Forever or Strong Confident Families. You'll find our group there. We try to offer tons of value there in the group on Facebook. But Twitter is just so fun. So I like Twitter. But yeah, you can catch me there. And
You host space on Twitter, like dad's lives, or
yeah, we do Twitter Spaces and live streams as much as I can. It's kind of slowed down with the newborn since our 3-month-old, but once we get a routine here, I'll be back in the routine there. So
gotcha.
but yeah, I love it. I love talking fatherhood, talking parenthood, talking
Yeah.
health and nutrition, and to me, it all goes together. Same principles apply. So yeah, if you ever want to connect and reach out and talk that with me, I'm open.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll do a round two someday.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, Cal.
Cheers.